Hello everyone, this is a short video meant to prepare you for the upcoming exam. First of all, of course, reminder for those in my in-person sections, there will be no class on Tuesday, so please do not come to class. Then I want to remind you that the actual exam again will be on Thursday, November 4th. It will again start at exactly midnight, run for 24 hours. And you can take it at any time, but you have 45 minutes again to complete it from the time you begin the exam until the very end. And you cannot do it in more than one try, so make sure you do it in one go. Hopefully you guys all already understand that, but another issue I want to address, there were quite a few people confused last time between the practice exam and the actual exam. So once again, the practice exam is on Mind tab. It has to be taken before the actual exam, and you have 3 days to do it: Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. It is on Mind tab. It's part of your homework. It's not the actual exam. Now, at midnight between Wednesday and Thursday, that exam will close, and you cannot do it after Wednesday. So make sure you do it before Wednesday. Ideal days would be either today, Monday, or Tuesday, because I got messages from students who said it was already locked. They were trying to take it on Thursday. That's not going to happen. You have to take it before the actual exam. Once again, the actual exam, the exam which becomes important part of your grade, is on Thursday, and it is on Canvas. It's not on Mind tab. So hopefully there will not be any confusion this time, because like I already said, I got quite a few messages from students being confused about that, and I thought I made it very clear in the previous video. Please watch these videos. They actually can help you to go through the class, because especially for students in my fully online classes, we don't have that much communication, and these videos are my way of explaining important materials to you. Okay. So make sure to do the practice exam by 11:59 p.m. on Wednesday, November 3rd, and right after that the actual exam opens. You have all day Thursday to do it. If you miss it for whatever reason, again, you will have additional 24 hours on Friday, but that will come with 10% penalty. And there's always 1 or 2 students who do it this way, and I really am not happy to take away 10% from your grade, but I will, because you actually have to do it on time, and the students who do it on time get the full credit. If you have any extra credit, it will be added after that, so after Friday, probably Saturday, I'll add extra credit, and then your grade will go up accordingly. Also remember, once again, you have homework this week just like usual. Of course, by now it should already be done, but that's granted that you should keep attention to whether it is on one section or more than one section. It clearly is being explained in a syllabus, and if we cover more than one section in a week, you should do both sections. So there shouldn't be any misunderstanding here. Now, I promised additional extra credit, so if you're watching this video, that's actually when it comes, and here's the extra credit. I will not send any messages about it. You do it as you watch it, and if you've gotten to this point, congratulations. All you need to do is message me the word parking. Once you message me the word parking, if you're one of the first 3 people to do so, you will get extra credit. So good luck with that. Please watch the rest of the video, because that part is actually from the review I did last year for the upcoming exam, and it includes some of the questions you potentially can get on the exam, very similar to what you will see on the exam. As you go along, you may want to pause, and you may want to guess at the answer before you actually see the explanation. Then I give you the correct answer in the explanation, and if you get it wrong, that will be a warning sign that perhaps this is something you should work on. So please watch it. Please make sure you are prepared, and good luck on the exam. Thank you. Which of the following statements is vague? Again, remember what vagueness is. What is vagueness? when you do not know where to draw the line. Borderline cases. So in this case, which one immediately stands out to you as a borderline case? D, exactly. All of the paintings in this gallery are expensive. Where's the line of expensive, non-expensive? What is expensive? I guess we all can agree that $40 million is expensive, but where exactly would you draw the line and say, well, this is not expensive? Say the painting is $10,000. Is it expensive? Well, compared to 40 million, it's really nothing, but some people say it is expensive. In fact, some people will probably say $500 is expensive, even though you are unlikely to see any paintings cheaper than that, because only the cost of the materials, the canvas and all that will probably add up to $500. But for some people, they would say, that's way too much for me. I think it is expensive. So all the paintings are expensive is as vague as it can possibly get. You really don't know where to draw the line here. Okay. Which of the following statements is ambiguous? Now, you again have to use your understanding and see if there's anything which allows for two distinct different meanings. And it's sometimes like students read it and immediately not available, but once they know the answer, it's like, oh right, that's exactly what it is. Because it is, of course, not that hard. So yes, A, Katie saw a woman give birth on her television. The immediate first reaction would be she watched the television and saw it. But then if you think about it, it can also allow for the meaning that she saw a woman who was sitting on a television and giving birth while on the television, right? That's the second meaning. Yeah, it is always funny. But not always, but mostly that's the funny examples. So yeah, that's the second one. Okay, which of the following is the term? Another super easy question. If you know what the term is, again, the term is something which can serve as a subject of a statement. In this case, there's only one very obvious, clear answer, right? What is it? A, Kim Kardashian. Note that the question on the exam could, for example, be the other way. It can say which one is not a term, and then it will give you a bunch of stuff which are terms, and one of them will be something like in the near future or whatever, which then would be the correct answer for that. Okay, which of the following pairs of terms have the same extension? Now, if you understand what extension of the term is, that should not be a difficult question. But time after time, I can see the students getting confused with this and giving the wrong answer. So let's look at it together, because if we apply the rules together, you guys will immediately see that what the problem is. So let's take a look. So remember, we do it this way. We put the term in the middle. So whatever is our term, in this case, you're saying George Washington. And this will be our extension, which is what? All the members picked out by the term George Washington. What would go here? What are the members of the term George Washington? President. So if you point at Trump, you say George Washington. No, why not? Because he is not the member of the term George Washington. Who is the member of the church George Washington? The George Washington. He is the member picked out by the term George Washington. It's not Trump. It's not Clinton. It's not just any president. It is George Washington. How about Abraham Lincoln? If you have Abraham Lincoln, who goes here? Surprise, surprise, Abraham Lincoln. Now, $1 million question. Is this the same person? George Washington and Abraham Lincoln? Clearly not. So, you're approaching it wrong. You're not thinking about it correctly. The members of the term George Washington is George Washington. The members of the term Abraham Lincoln is Abraham Lincoln. If the term was president, then the members would be George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Donald Trump, and so on. But it's not. It's not president. It is George Washington and it is Abraham Lincoln. So that's not the same extension. Same thing with city and state. If you put city here, what would be here? Washington, DC, New York City, San Francisco. How about state? The state would be Nevada, California, and so on. Again, note, not the same. Which two pairs have the same extension? What exactly do you put here to get the same extension? We did talk about it in class. Now, if you put here currently living dinosaur, what goes here? Nothing. 0. How about unicorn? Another 0. Is 0 equal to 0? Yes, it is. It's the same extension. Both of them are empty. So this is the example of empty extension. Note that it doesn't have to be empty. How can we not have it which is not empty? Let's do the example where it's not empty and it still is the same. Let's say we have George Washington again. So here we will have George Washington. What other term we can have which has the same extension? First President of the United States. First President. If we have First President of the United States, what again goes here? George Washington. Now it's the same extension. So be careful about that. Like I said, it's like every section, students always make this mistake. You think that you understand it, but it's because you actually don't. Because there is a problem with your understanding of what extension of the term is. Again, it's just all the members the term denotes. E, well again, do the same thing. If you put king there, what would be your extension? It's not monarch. Your extension would be all the kings. Whatever kings you can find. Charles the First, Charles the Second, and so on. How about queen? Who would go there? Elizabeth the First, Elizabeth the Second. Is it the same? No, it's not. These are two different groups of members. Just the fact that they're both monarchs has nothing to do with it. It's not monarchs who members of the class are. It's the individuals. All the members, the members have always to be individuals at which you can point and apply this term. So you can point at somebody and say king. And who would you point and say king? Charles the First, George the First, George the Fifth, and so on. Who do you point at and say queen? Elizabeth the First, Elizabeth the Second. Note in this case it doesn't have to be a living monarch because it doesn't say living king. But in the same time it's still not the same extension because the group of kings throughout history and the group of queens were always very different. Okay. Which of the following groups of terms is in order of increasing extension? So this one should be easier. Note that in this case, funny enough, you do need to know a little bit about American government. And I do realize some international students may not know that. So on the exam, I choose the question which is a little bit more common knowledge. But nonetheless, because it's practice, you can Google it, right? So if you Google it, you will find out that U.S. Congress consists of two parts, which is Senate and the House of Representatives. So, like if you do increasing extension, you are starting from the narrowest term and you're going to the widest. Yes, it has to end with citizen. That's another way to think about it. But the narrowest term would be senators because there's 100 of them, right? Members of Congress, that includes the Senate and the House of Representatives, which is another like 500 or something. I'm not sure myself how many, but definitely more than just Senate. It expands to like about 600 people. And then, of course, elected official, all these people are elected but also the president is elected, and also a bunch of others, like they even elect some judges. So that would obviously be bigger. And then finally citizen is the broadest one, because then we're talking about 320 or whatever million people, and that's the broadest term of them all. Note that if it was increasing intention, it would go the other way. Then you would start with the citizen and go back all the way to US Senator. Okay. Which of the following statements has primarily cognitive meaning? Again, should be easy, right? You remember cognitive and emotive. Emotive meaning is the words which evoke emotion, such as fantastic, lazy, disgusting, delicious. All of these are emotive words, so the only one which doesn't have those words, Allegra, is an allergy medication. Now that is very, very plain statement, no emotion whatsoever, and therefore it is primarily cognitive meaning. If the question was the other way around, if it gave you primarily emotive meaning, then you would look for one which has words such as fantastic. Okay. Now, which of the following statements expresses a value claim? Again, yeah, you remember what the value claim is. The definition of the value claim helps you. Something is good, bad, better, worse, more important, less important, then some other thing. So the only one here which has this kind of interpretation is Ulysses is a wonderful novel. Wonderful novel is another way of saying good novel, right? Note that all the other ones are questions of fact. This is the only one which is indeed good or bad and can be open to interpretation. Somebody can disagree about it. If you read Ulysses, you may not agree with the statement that it is a wonderful novel. It's a little difficult, very kind of weird. So people who are experts in literature generally agree that it is good, but for an average reader, it may seem not that good. Nonetheless, it is a value claim. So it doesn't have to be definitely good or bad. It's just a statement of somebody's opinion, more or less. Okay. In the definition, chill means a sensation of cold attended with shivering. The definitions is what? Yeah. So the definition of chill means a sensation of cold attended with shivering. Definitions is what? Very easy. You don't have to even remember it. You can write it down for yourself. The definition has two parts, definendum and definiens. Definendum is the word to be defined, and definiens is the words which do the defining. In this case, a sensation of cold attended with shivering. There's a nice helpful picture here. If you just go over the review, you can see it right there. Don't even have to look it up. The definition, a ticket purchaser is a senior if and only if he/she is at least 55 years old, is an example of what? Okay, well, but see, ask yourself, are they performing some sort of operation? What's the operation here? They measure an age of a senior? Are they? Note that the point of this is to do what? To remove vagueness. It is vague who is a senior. Where would you see it? In a movie theater, right? In a movie theater, you would see something like seniors get 50% discount. But then what could be a problem? Who is a senior? Somebody comes over and says, well, I'm 35 years old, but you know, my life was tough. I consider myself a senior. You may be arguing for days there, and the cashier will have hell of a job. Now, when you have this definition, you remove this because now you know exactly who is the senior. Oh, you turn in 55 tomorrow, sir? Well, sorry, you're not a senior. Come back tomorrow. Tomorrow you will be a senior. Today you're not. So cashier only have to ask you for your ID. But note that they are not asking you for your ID here. They are not doing anything. They're just telling you. A ticket purchaser is a senior if and only if he or she is 55 years old. So it is precising definition. It's meant to make it more precise, to remove the vagueness. Not an operational one. Operational would be more like In order to find out who is the senior, you have to measure the size of their skull or something. And then that will tell you. Which of the following are all connoted by the term comedian? So remember connotation, denotation, denotation, extension of the term, connotation, intension of the term, which is all the term's attributes or qualities. All the attributes or qualities we're looking for in order to apply the term comedian. Well, are we looking for attribute of being Jerry Seinfeld in order to apply the term comedian? Or are we looking for attribute of being humorous, quick-witted, clever, articulate? I'm thinking it is E, because those are the attributes. C is actually members of the class. C are comedians themselves. Jerry Seinfeld, Bill Murray, Steve Martin, Jon Stewart, they are members of the class, therefore they are extension of the term, they are denoted by the term comedian. But connoted by the term comedian would be humorous, quick-witted, clever, and articulate. Yeah, see, this is the picture from the book. Inventor denotes Thomas Edison, Alexander Graham Bell, Samuel Morse, and so on. But it connotes clever, intuitive, creative, imaginative. So that is the correct answer here. Disputes. So here's an example of a dispute. Cindy says, I have it on good authority that you lifted your term paper from the internet. I'm afraid you're guilty of plagiarism. And Dave says, that's not plagiarism. It's true that the original paper came from the internet, but I changed many of the words before I handed it in. So, first of all, of course, if you want to go by the process of elimination, you can see that the only two types of disputes we can have are verbal and factual, right? So academic and moral wouldn't even be an option. This is not something we can possibly have here. Okay, is it factual or is it verbal? Remember, the factual is a dispute about the facts. Verbal is a dispute about the meaning of the words. Are they disputing the facts here? No. Dave immediately says it is true, but I got it from the internet. So they are not disputing the facts. They are disputing the meaning of the words. So it is verbal. Is it arising from vagueness or from ambiguity? Is it about where the plagiarism ends and plagiarism begins, or is it about two different meanings of the words plagiarism? Now that could be a little bit difficult again, because students do somewhat get confused, but in this case the correct answer is vagueness, because he's trying to say that he changed enough words for it not to be plagiarism anymore. And this is kind of question of vagueness about how many words do you need to change. Now clearly if you change all of them, that no longer will be the same paper, and so it's not going to be a plagiarism. In general, you shouldn't lift anything from internet, but if you do, you should cite your sources, right? If you cite it for a portion of your paper, then it is okay, but obviously not for the entire thing. So it still is a question about how many words rather than a different meaning of the term plagiarism. Note that for the exam you're not going to have both. Remember, we had both on the practice when we did it in class. Sometimes it can be both verbal and factual. Not going to be the case on the exam, so don't worry about that. Just determine whether it's verbal or factual, and if it is verbal, determine from vagueness or from ambiguity. Again, I'm trying to make the exam easier than all these practice exercises. Which of the following are both extensional definitions? Well, we have extensional and intentional. If you remember, there were 3 extensional definitions, yes, which you should know: demonstrative, enumerative, and subclass. So subclass here is present in A, but synonymous is not extensional. And the only one which has both of them is D, demonstrative and enumerative. That is the correct answer. The definition religion means then an institutionalized belief in fairy tales that undermines our capacity to reason is an example of what? Persuasive. Yes, clearly persuasive. In this case, hopefully you can see it right away. The point is to persuade you about religion rather than give you a definition.